All right, the Zentangle we are going to be working on today is going to start with a pumpkin shape. So I want you to put a dot in each corner of your paper. And then we're going to connect those dots to make a nice boundary for the area that we will be putting our pattern inside. This is a nice, festive fall Zentangle activity, and I hope you enjoy it. So I've got my lines drawn, and the two patterns we're going to work with today are called Purr and Betweed. This one is Purr, this is Betweed. All right, we're going to add our pumpkin sections. So the first thing I want you to do is add a nice tall curvy art. It's almost like a piece of prickly pear cactus. Great. Now we're going to add one that arcs out to the side like this. And then we'll do the same on the other side. So we're just going to arc out to the side. And then we'll add two more sections. And I don't want to quite hit the top with this one, so I'm not going to. And then for this one, we'll just hit right here. And then we've got the space that our stem of this pumpkin is going to be. So we can add it right in. And that is the pumpkin we're going to fill with Zentangle designs. I want you to start with your pencil and make an oval shape right here. Just a regular old oval. So we're going to make an oval. And this is the Purr pattern. I think you're going to like it. Our Purr pattern starts with these wavy lines that go down our oval like this. It's a wavy line, and it starts a little bit outside the oval. And then it's going to have a buddy that comes down below it. And we curve over when we get to that edge. Same deal here. We're going to come down and curve over at the edge. And same thing here. We're going to curve over. So now we have these three sets of lines that are dividing up our oval. In each of those spaces, let's put an oval right in the center. And I feel like this design works better when we make these more of an oval and less of a round shape. So now we've got our 4 ovals in there, however many you had. You might have more. And then we're going to go put an oval on the right side of each one. And then we'll put an oval on the left side of each one. And if you need to turn your paper to make this a little easier, please do. So now we have our center 3, and depending on how much space you have left, we're going to add some more ovals. And they can go outside that oval just a little bit if they need to. They can kind of pop off this shape if they have to. So I have a little bit of room right here, so I'll add another, and then same on the other side. And we'll go down. Make another one over there. I've got a little more room over here. There we go. And if it's hanging off a little bit, I'm not super worried about that. All right. Now, in each of these little sections, I'm just going to put a lot of little orbs. So these are more of a circular. Well, I'm trying to make them more circular, but sometimes they do look a little like an oval, don't they? That's all right. And then we'll do the same on the others. So these can just be simple easy little orbs. So there we go. And of course, and that one. Our next step is going to be to color in the space between all of these little lines here. It can come off of that original oval just a little bit. So we'll color all those in. But wait, we're also going to color all of these in. So, and cover in all that space with your black marker. It's a lot of little tiny spaces to color in. I'm going to turn sideways so I have a little better look at this. The real magic with this purr pattern comes in when we shade it, because it just looks like it jumps right off the page. So for now, enjoy filling in all of these tiny spaces with your black marker. And then I'll show you our next pattern, which is called Betweed or Betweed, but I think it's kind of a play on the word between. They give a lot of these Zentangles some very nonsensical names, so we don't always know how to pronounce it. I enjoy coloring in these tiny spaces when I have a marker that has a good amount of ink. It can get a little frustrating when you don't have any ink in your marker and you're trying to do this, or when you're kind of running out of ink. I try to make sure that I have enough ink right at the beginning now. Uh-oh, it's time for dogs to bark. Dog bark warning. Oh, there it is. All right, I'll be back. All right, so I'm going to finish coloring in all of these tiny little spaces. And I know that when you look at this, you're thinking, Kasey, you are being a little bit messy. You know, you could be a little more clean with your lines and stuff. On this one, it doesn't matter as much because I'm going to put a lot more shading and detail on here, so I don't think it'll look as scraggly and scrawny when I am done. I'm going to fill in all these spaces. Hopefully we have a nice outcome. Sometimes when I color some of these in, they are not looking like orbs anymore. All right, so we're all colored in, and that is the beginning of the purr pattern. And I'll show you the shading on it here in a moment. But next, I'm going to show you this Betweed pattern. And it's a really neat one. I like it a lot. The first thing I'm going to do is make some sort of thick sections here in this one section of pumpkin. So what I'm doing is making a set of 2 lines. So we have a little border on each of these, but it's basically 1 section, 2 section, 3rd section. But they each have this little, it's kind of a double border. And then I guess we have room over here for like just one to peek out. All right, so there's the sections, and then I'll show you how to get this pattern started. First thing in the upper left corner, I want you to make this little piece. It's tiny. Then we're going to start at the lower corner. We're going to go up. We're not touching the top. And we're going to come over to the other side. And when we get there, we're going to make a little triangle at the end of that line, like so. Then we're going to go from the other side up and hit that line that we just made. And then we'll do our triangle there as well. Then we're going to go back and forth doing that exact thing until we get to a point where we feel like we can't really make any more of these lines. So I'm going to make that little triangle when I get there and color it in, and come over here and make my triangle. I got this new marker and it really does have a lot of ink in it. It's kind of maybe a little too much ink, but I can't do anything about that now. Okay, then I'm coming from over here, making my little triangle, and you know, however many you feel like you can fit in there and still get your little triangle. So that is that betweed pattern, and we're going to do that in each of these sections. So same thing over here. First, I'm going to make a little arch in the corner, and then I'll come up from here, go over to the side, make my triangle, color it in. Then I'll start down here, go up, make my triangle, and color it in. And I'll keep continuing from the area where I began each time. This is going way off from where my pencil is. I apologize if that's confusing. And then back over here, and we add that triangle. Oh, this marker. And then back over here, and we add this triangle, and another, and a triangle, and maybe one more. There we go. So that is our betweed pattern, and I'm going to add one more set of it right over here so you can watch. We have that little arc in the corner, and then we start down at the bottom, come over, and touch here. Then we start at the other bottom, come up, and touch there and add our triangle. Then we just keep going until we feel like the whole section is full. So I came from this way, so now I'm going to come from this way. And now I'm going to go this way. And perhaps one more this way. So that's a third section done. And then I have this little section here, and I'm just going to sort of add some that look like they go along with the pattern because we can't see that section. All right. So then I'm going to leave those spaces in between. I'm just going to leave them empty. And we can go on to another betweed, or we can add our purr in these other sections. I think I'm going to do my betweed first. So this one, here's my middle section. And then I'll turn it and I'll add this side section, and then there's our little tiny baby section. And then we'll have one more section over on this side, and it doesn't quite all fit in here, but we're going to make it work. All right, let's start with this one. I'm going to do my tiny arch in the corner, and then I'll start at the bottom, go over to this one, and add my triangle. And then I'll start at the bottom here, go up, add my triangle, start at the bottom here, hit that side, add my triangle, and so on and so forth until we get done. And we have that woven looking pattern. And then same deal. And I'm always starting on this side because I don't want to confuse myself. You can try starting from different sides. That's absolutely fine with me. If that works for you, you could try it out, but it was not working for me when I first practiced this pattern. So here we are. This is the way it's easiest for me. When I start the same way each time, I am more successful with it. Maybe one day I'll feel like having a little brain challenge and I might decide to start the other way, but today was not that day. All right, so one more. And we can't see the whole thing over here, right? So I'm just gonna start with kind of a triangle and hope that it hope that it kind of looks right. I think it'll blend in with the others. This is not the most important one because it's really not front and center. Sometimes with our Zentangle patterns, we just have to use a little bit of creativity to make it appear that the ones in the corners or the ones where we can't see the whole pattern, we're just going to make it appear that they look like the others. So there we go. Those betweens are done. And then same thing over here. I'm just going to make like some little lines and shaded parts. We have these two sections left for our purr. So I'm going to add the banner. For these. So there's our banner. And then I'll add my center oval between each set of the banners. And got one up here too. And then I can add those ones on the sides, however they best fit. So I'll just continue to do that all the way around. And some of these sections, like it just doesn't fit, so I do part of it. And we know that maybe it just goes behind that section. Oops. And then our little tiny circles. All right, so I've got all my tiny circles and all my big stuff. And now I can color in these little in-between spaces. I like finding these little tiny triangles to fill in and the little dots. All right. It's getting a little confusing right here, isn't it? That's okay. I'm just gonna go with what my brain says to do. Make that line a little nicer. All right, so that one's done, and then I've got my final purr pattern to do, and I'm going to turn my paper this way because that just seems the best to me. And I'm going to put these banners throughout. So I've got my little banners there. Then I'm going to add my center oval in each set. I'm kind of trying to make them look a little bit round, right? Because this is a pumpkin and it's very rotund. And then I can add those ovals on the other sides. When I get to the edge of my boundary, that's just the edge of my boundary, and it's fine. All right, it looks like we might have one more tiny, oh, there. All right, so now I can add, oh look, there's room for one right there. Now I can add those little circles to the banner pieces that go across. So we'll get those on there. And now we can color this one in. I will do that. I enjoy coloring the little tiny spaces in. It is a joy when you have ink flowing and it's going to the places you want it to go. And I'm going to turn my paper whenever I feel like it. Whenever my hand thinks it would like to be resting here, but it can't really reach the place it wants to draw. That's when I'm going to turn my paper and make it a little easier for my hand. All right. And you can decide things like if you would like to have anything in these interim spaces here. In my stem, I'm just going to do this and then I'll shade it later. And I think in those interim spaces, I'm going to leave them open because I will add some shading to them. The next thing I'm going to do, because I put my little blueprints down in pencil, I'm going to get those erased and then I will come back and show you how I'm going to shade that. Now for the shading step, and what you need for shading is a pencil, and then I have these little blending sticks. They're called tortillons, but you can also use, if you have a Q-tip, you can just snip the top off. You can use that paper there, or if you have got a paper towel laying around, you can roll the paper towel up really small, kind of like this. Roll it up real good, flatten it, and then bend it like this, and you'll have a nice corner. Now, my paper towel has paint on it because I had used it for something else. But you can then use this as your little smudging stick. And then if it gets too smudgy, you flip it over and use the other corner. So those are some different ways you can blend. I'm going to get started shading right now on our first purr pattern. I'm going to add some pencil to the left edge in kind of a crescent shape to each of these orbs. And I'll show you one row and then we'll move on to a different section of shading. All right, so you just want to put you don't want to make an indentation in your paper with the pencil here, but then you're going to take your blending stick. I'll use my tortillon. You can use whatever you've got. And I'm going to blend it outward. So I'm going to smudge this pencil nicely. And I'm going to blend toward this edge. I want to leave some white. I don't want to blend all the way over because then it just sort of looks gray. All right, so I'm blending each of these to make sure that I'm making them look nice and round. You can blend straight across or you can blend in that rounded manner. So my touch is getting lighter as I get toward this edge. Perfect. So that's one section of them done. Then I'm going to blend underneath them to where I'm covering up part of those little orbs, but like the top and not the bottom of them, if that makes sense. So they're going to be like that. And then over on the whole left side of this one, I am going to add some shade as well. So I'm putting it on pretty heavy. And I'm going to blend blend this outward. And that's shading the whole entire thing. And it's okay if I go over those ones that I've already shaded, because I want everybody to know this side is nice and dark. All right, so now we'll go back and put some pencil in the rest of these orbs. And you don't really have to shade with the pencil if you have something to blend with. You can just put enough pencil down that you know you'll have something to work with when you bring in your blender. And it's fine. So now we'll blend all these little orbs. Blendy, blendy. And these are going to be darker because they have that shade that we put on the side, right? So I just want to smudge this pencil like so. And sometimes I feel like I want to make it curvier, and sometimes I don't want to make it curvier. All right, so last ones. And then I will do my upper edge of these little round bead things that are underneath each row of those ovals. And I'll blend those down. I'm trying to do it in a way that I still have the white showing. There, so now when we look at that, it's looking quite a lot more three-dimensional, right? It's looking like it to me. In this section outside of it, we can kind of do whatever we want. So I think I'm going to shade it this way. I'm going to shade the outer edge inward toward my little purr pattern. Mainly because I want to cover up my orange marker with some dark pencil. And then on this side, I can do the same thing, or I can shade this edge, but I think I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to shade that outer edge. So let's do that. And I'll bring back my little blender, and I will smudge that out toward that shape in the middle. Here we go. I mean, I gotta do something about this moving around camera, huh? Sorry it's so bouncy. And then on the other side, I'll do the same thing. And sometimes if you feel like you're getting too much, there's too much graphite on here, you can just get another piece of junk paper and kind of smear some of it off. All right, so let's blend this outward. Bringing that out and around. So there's that one, and it's really looking like it's jumping off the page at us, isn't it? All right, now we can shade one of our betuies. So what I think I'm gonna do, everywhere I have something coming over, I'm gonna shade underneath it. So like that's gonna be shaded, and this one's gonna be shaded. So I'm shading under that top line. So I'll also do it up here. Let's see what that looks like. I think it's gonna look pretty good. And we'll just smooth it out. Ooh, I forgot one. 2. Gosh. All right, so that one needs some also. All right, so then we'll blend that down. We'll blend this down. And that one. And kind of just keep going around. Getting those all blended out. So now it looks really dimensional. And we can do that to each one of them. So we're gonna shade the underside of each of the lines. This time I'm gonna not go back and forth, and I think that will help me not miss any. And I'll do the ones over here. So I'm gonna go under that one, under this one, this one, this one, and that's all. And then we'll shade those. There we go. So those are looking very, very dimensional, right? All right, what are we doing? We're doing the underside of each line. Okay, so that one, sometimes I just have to talk to myself and remind myself what I'm doing. Underside. Oh, see, like that wasn't quite right. This is what happens when I don't use a pattern and I kind of try to just wing it. I need to pay more attention to my pattern, where I've put things. All right, so let's get this one blended down. That one, I'm gonna go this way and then I'll come back from the other direction. Yes, all right. So that section's good. And then we've got, you know, this one over here is sort of, we do what we want. I'm just gonna put a little shade in there so it doesn't look like we forgot about it and call it a day. We can do whatever we want in these center sections. I think what I'm gonna do is shade them from the edges. Like this. Just shade that one section and it starts to look very kind of rounded. It's very interesting the way that works. And you know, I think I do need a little shade in this corner, probably in this one also. But I'm going to shade these edges. And I'll shade these edges as well. And then I'll bring my little blender stick in, smudge it really nicely, and kind of lighten my touch as I get toward the center. And that's going to make it look like it's got that really nice glare. I love how that works. Immediately, it just gives us such depth. All right, and then we'll smear this one. Smudge, whatever the word is that we want to use. Smudge that. I'm going to put a little smudge in that corner. All right, and then we have this one over here, but I probably have enough just on my little smudgy stick to get right in there. So now we have these, the lines that are sticking up, and we can decide if we want to leave those or if we want to shade them. For now, I'm going to leave them. But now that you know how to do all of these parts, I'm going to go into time lapse so I can finish mine up. Oh, and on these little edges of the pumpkin, I'm going to do something similar to what I did between that pattern. I'm going to shade just along all of these dark lines that I made, and they're a little bit curvy. And when we blend these out, it's going to look really neat. It's going to make it look like it's a little bit, what's the word? Maybe fluted. So then we'll shade each of these So that's going toward the center, and this is on the line, so I can smudge it all on the line, and I'll pull a little bit this way and a little bit the other way. Same deal. I'm going to smudge the whole line, and then I'll pull a little bit each direction. And I'm trying to make sure that I leave that white in the center, because that's what's going to make it look really, really round. And then since this is the edge, I'm only going to shade the one side of it. I'm not shading both sides of that one. And you can decide if you want to shade along the top. I think I do. So there is how that looks. That's pretty neat, huh? All right. All right, here I go to time lapse, and I'm going to shade everything else so you can see what it looks like. All right, that is all the main shading, but now if I want to, I can also shade around this edge to make it more like this middle section is overshadowing the side section. So let's see what that looks like, just for fun. And we don't have to do it on the other side if we do it over here. But also we can if we want to. So I'll just pull that out and make it a little darker along this edge. So you can see how that adds a little bit of dimension there. And we can do the same thing over on the other side. So let's try that. Let's do another dark edge over here. We've created a great deal of depth in this one. It's kind of a brain teaser when you look at it. So let's pull that outward into all these different little patterns. So now that one's kind of, this is really interesting. It almost looks like that one's front and center, but then it also looks like it's going into the pumpkin. This is kind of crazy. All right, so we can color the background in, we can shade it, we can do whatever we want. Another thing we can do, if you have a white pen, which I do, this is just a white chalk pastel pencil, on anything that's supposed to be really bright, I can add white highlights, and it makes it sort of stick out even more. It makes it even brighter. I'm trying not to get on the black, but some parts I am. So we can highlight it in that way where it jumps off the page a little more. And you can smudge this, or you don't have to. I don't always smudge the whites. I don't remember if I did these yet, so here I am, back to do them. You can run some white through the middle of that to really make it look shiny, shiny, shiny. That's always fun. And then I'm going to run some white through the middle here also to make it look super duper shiny. Same over here. Super shiny. And then there's a lot of other places we can put white too if we want to. So I'm just going to play around a little more with this white and put some very bright pieces in there. If you have a part that you want to make look really, really, give it a lot of vavoom, you can also put like You know, you can do a, let's see. You can make this look round in kind of a different way by doing that, like it's got a glare on it, sort of. So that's another way to have fun with that white chalk. I like the white chalk. It gives us a little bit of a kind of a different power than we have with just shading. But I know everybody doesn't have access to that, so I don't always use it in my tutorials. But we can come in, put more of that white over here. It's getting kind of gray because I'm writing on my pencil. Oh, but I can put those little lines to give that dimension. And then same over here. We can give it those kind of like little glare lines. So that's fun. And we could probably put one down here through the center if we want to add a little depth in a different way. But you know what, y'all? That's our Zentangle for today. And as usual, I'm gonna come in and always put my little Zentangle signature, which is called a chop. And mine is a circle with a K and then a little heart right there in that space. So that is it. That's tangle number 8. That's our pumpkin. I hope so much that you have enjoyed it. I certainly have. And I look forward to seeing you again next time.